Hi, I'm Telkiney, the Nerd Navigator. Today I realized my channel has been pretty saturated with gaming videos. Well, there's nothing wrong with gaming. I mean, there is a reason for the current saturation, but I want to branch out into my other areas of interest that align with navigating the world of nerd. So I'm going to bring you my top 10 favorite anime. Hi, I want to make a note here. After filming this piece, I got the idea to let you know exactly where, at least in this moment in time, you can legally go to look for these anime and watch them. Be it streaming from websites like Netflix, Hulu, Crunchyroll, Funimation, or if you're like me and want to purchase a physical copy, such as, a DVD, from Amazon. I'll provide links to those as well. Look for them on screen or in the description down below. I believe that bears repeating my favorite anime. I'm not saying this is a list containing the very best anime, as I'm sure I've missed so many good shows and movies. Every entry on this list holds some significance to me from all the years I've been watching. And it's my hope that maybe, just maybe, talking about them will spark someone's interest and they'll go watch one and find a new favorite, or decide to watch one and they find out they might just like anime. Also, yes, call me mainstream, but a few of these are super popular in the US, thanks to Cartoon Network. This is how I was mainly introduced to anime shows from the first few I was able to watch. So, starting with number 10, Vampire Hunter D and Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. These are both movies. The original Vampire Hunter D was likely the first anime I ever watched when I was a kid, while I was at a friend's house. Vampire Hunter D has such a great mix of fantasy and science fiction. It's set in a universe in which vampires once ruled the world for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But something occurred and their power to rule has diminished. But it's not gone. In this universe, at some point, vampires had cared about science and technology for which they had built interstellar travel, mechanical robots, and had manipulated the genetics of all kinds of creatures on the planet, creating mutants. Vampires act as the nobility in this universe and definitely hoard their technology from humans. While they seem to be uneducated for the most part into the finer workings of these fantastic technological wonders due to their shorter lifespans and lack of formal education. The main character in these movies is D, a vampire hunter who is a vampire, which is what they call a half human, half vampire. Without trying to give too much away from the first movie and spoiling a twist, let's just say he's not any half-breed, but one of ancient lineage. It's a theme common in a lot of vampire stories that the older the vampire, the stronger. I liked the Vampire Hunter D universe so much that I actually picked up a bunch of the novels that these movies are based on. However, the movies only cover one novel, and I own about 17 volumes myself, and there's some 20 of them existing. If you like vampire stuff and futuristic technologies, check out these movies. They are really good. The Berserk series. Berserk had everything my teenage brain could have wanted at the time when I first watched it. It had the best kind of medieval violence, swordplay, and it had an occasional scene of nudity. All compiled with a compelling story of a class of people trying to raise their status in the world. The Berserk series is mainly told from the perspective of the past events, following the life of a super strong swordsman, but starts out in this demonic post-apocalyptic world that you're left wondering throughout the entire show how the world got to that place from when the scene first foreshadowed it. You should watch it because the animation is great. Like I said, the violence is spectacular. Also, you want to watch the 1997 Berserk, not the newer versions that you probably could find on Netflix that features like 3D graphics. It is okay, but really recommend the original if you can find it. Number 8. Ninja Scrolls. This is a series and a movie. Ninja Scrolls has the same feeling and art direction as Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. This is likely because they were both written and directed by the same person. Ninja Scrolls again has the violence and brief nudity that my teenage self could not resist. The art style of this type of anime is so awesome. The enemy characters in this anime are all kind of demons, and they're all really unique in their art direction and their abilities. This is a watch for anyone that likes action styled anime, and especially if they love ninja. I'm looking at you, Corey. So number 7, Sword Art Online series and upcoming movie. Sword Art Online. What was that? Did I hear a groan? I love Sword Art Online, but there is a huge divide in the anime community for it. There are those that love the show, and there are those that hate the show. Sword Art Online is set in a future in which a new technology just came out, in which video games can be played with a device that interfaces into your brain so that you actually perceive the game as reality. You can taste, you can smell, you can touch, feel pain, etc. Anyway, when the game launches, the creator of the game turns mad scientist and makes it so that no one can log out. And if you disconnected, you would die, since he can literally mess with your brains while they're connected. The other catch is if you die in the game, you will die in real life. Now they can escape from the world if they defeat the final boss. So you have to live long enough to get to the final boss to be able to defeat him. Problem is, he's on the 100th floor of a 100-floor dungeon that has a boss at every floor. I found it to be really an interesting concept. While I will agree that the story does lag in some parts, I found the action anime to be really magnificent. And the main character is enduring, as he's super skilled, but also really modest about it, and at times even hides how awesome he is to not affect those around him who are less skilled. If you play massively multiplayer online RPGs, maybe check this one out. Number 6, the Helsing series. Helsing is another anime featuring vampires, only this one takes place in modern-day London, with the premise that there's an order of knights that were founded during the Dark Ages that are sworn to protect the country from vampires, monsters, and other supernatural threats. As the name of the anime suggests, the order was originally founded by the famous vampire hunter Abraham Van Helsing. The story is centered around the organization's current leader and their most powerful weapon, an original vampire named Alcrud, sworn to do the bidding of the organization after having been defeated by the founder, that being Van Helsing. And then the story goes on, all the while a freshly bitten vampire who was a policewoman is just coming to grips with her new found identity and strength. The name Alcrud is particularly interesting to me as it's Dracula spelled backwards. Anyway, the series is well animated, the plot is interesting, you should really check it out. Number 5, the Dragon Ball Z series and their movies. Dragon Ball Z, what can I say? Even if you don't know anime or watch anime, you know Dragon Ball Z. While Vampire Hunter D might have been the first anime I ever watched, Dragon Ball Z was the first that I was able to watch on a regular basis, thanks to Cartoon Network. I watched the shit out of that show. This anime, when you boil it down, does have its problems. I'd be the first to admit that if you've never watched Dragon Ball Z, you really should watch Dragon Ball Kai, which is an edited version of Dragon Ball Z that takes out a lot of the filler and the unnecessary drawn-out landscape animations that Dragon Ball Z is infamous for. Regardless of its faults, Dragon Ball Z remains a favorite of mine, and I highly suggest watching Dragon Ball Kai if you've never seen it. There is a good reason why it's so popular. Number 4, Fullmetal Alchemist series and movies. Fullmetal Alchemist is a movie about two brothers who are super talented in the ways of the show's magic system called alchemy. Their mother dies, and then they turn to alchemy to try to bring her back from the dead, which is a forbidden practice, mainly because of the dangers to the user, but also because of other circumstances and consequences that you find out about later in the show. The attempt went sideways for the brothers, and now they have a new goal, which is to get their bodies back. You'll see why if you watch this show. All the while, they're searching for a mystical artifact that people say don't exist. The show's got a great plot, great animation, and it captivates you to watch to see if the brothers will ever achieve what they've set out to do. You should watch it. Number 3, Princess Mononoke. It would be impossible to do a top 10 list of favorite anime without including at least one Studio Ghibli movie. as they've had 8 films that are within the 15 highest grossing in Japan, and they even have like a bunch of nominations for Academy Awards and even winning one of them here in the United States. Princess Mononoke is by far my favorite from this studio. It has a wonderful story about man versus nature with beautiful action and interesting characters. If I didn't know someone's specific tastes, I would recommend this to anyone who wants to watch an anime for the first time, especially if they just want to see a movie, a quick, 2 hours or whatever. If you've never seen anime before in your life, watch Princess Mononoke. See if you like it. If you have watched anime but you've never heard of Princess Mononoke, or you just haven't gotten around to seeing it, you really should. You'd be doing yourself a favor. Number 2, One Punch Man. One Punch Man. God, this show is amazing. It has so many art styles packed into one great show. At times it's hilarious, at other times it's the best animation I've ever seen in my life. The show takes an almost satirical approach to anime, in that the character is not the same type of person you see featured in most anime that has to struggle or to improve, to accomplish a goal, or to save the world. No. The story is of a person that can literally take out any monster or foe with one punch. He's just that strong. But where the story starts out, he's just bored. Nothing challenges him. He seeks to be challenged. As the anime moves and the fights get bigger, the monsters get bigger, all the while you keep wondering, will this be the one to give him that challenge? Will they give him problems? It's a completely different mindset than, say, Dragon Ball Z, where the main character, Goku, is constantly getting beaten and has to train and improve to save the world. In this anime, One Punch Man, I'd really recommend it if you wanted a short series rather than a movie. There's only 1 season to the show, so there's no huge commitment. So I highly, highly suggest this show to basically anyone that's breathing, because it is virtually my favorite, except for the next anime that we will be getting to. Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Anime series, movies, and OVAs. Naruto is my absolute favorite anime, bar none. I've really, really wanted to do a full review of this anime, but at this point in time, I don't believe that my video skills would do it justice, and as such, I've hesitated to do a full review. This anime, unlike my second favorite, One Punch Man, has such a massive volume of content that you can now even binge watch it, as the last episode will air March 9th. And there are like 708 episodes that are 23 minutes long between the 2 shows, as well as 11 standalone movies and 12 short OVAs. All of this combines to a rough guess of about 284 hours of content. But why do I love this so much, you might ask? Well, if you were to boil it down and discount the amazing variety of characters that you're introduced to in the 708 episodes and all of their flavors of abilities and personalities, if you don't count the amazing animations and the awesome action combat, you're left with a story that's filled with emotions and motivations. Every character in Naruto has their own personality, but the centric story is that of 2 boys who, while being born in completely different situations, both have a connection to one another via one commonality they share, which is that they both have lost their families at the point that the anime begins. The first boy, the main character, Naruto, was essentially orphaned at birth, and the entire village, except for a select few who know his whole story, treat him as an outcast rather than the poor child alone that he is, due to a rumor that he holds a demon within him. While the other boy, Sasuke, had his entire clan murdered in front of him, including his family, right before his eyes, by someone he trusted. The anime follows them as they struggle to cope with their past, while both training to grow stronger to become ninjas to achieve certain goals. Those goals not only drive the characters, but also the story. Naruto, well, despite being an outcast, doesn't despise the village he lives in, but rather has a dream for the village to recognize him as one of their own. It's one of his most redeeming qualities that appears throughout the show. While Sasuke wants to grow stronger in order to gain more power, to have revenge on the person that murdered his entire clan. This is a show that keeps just getting better and better as the story progresses, as the characters evolve, as they get more powerful, they learn new abilities. There's a substantial shift in the anime also. As you watch it, you watch a group of kids learning to be ninjas while they hone their skills and abilities. They grow up to be in a group of teenagers that suddenly have to face the cruel world they live in and decide how they want to live in that world. They clearly develop as the story moves along, and it's a very different change than you see in anime such as Dragon Ball Z, where you know Goku is stronger because he went from blowing up boulders to blowing up mountains, all the while using the same abilities such as the Kamehameha wave. Goku didn't become more skilled of a fighter or learn new abilities or a new way to use his signature moves. Okay, excluding the instant transmission ability that he does. He just gets more powerful. He just gets stronger. Brute strength. Naruto's combat is less about brute strength, but more about the character's strategy and how they use their abilities against their opponent, to a degree in which some characters defeat the enemies they really shouldn't have, but were able to because they outthought them. It's a huge difference and allows for the fights to be very suspenseful. It's like you fighting, a boss in a video game that's huge, some dragon or something. The one issue a lot have with the anime is that there is content that is considered filler in that it does not progress the amazing story forward. While I would argue that most of the filler is normally background for character development, there are admittedly episodes that don't serve the purpose of backstory or progression, but they are few and far between. I would just consider them like I do the standalone movies as simply more content, even if they're not part of the overall story. If you watch any of the recommended anime above and you think you might be into anime, this would be the first series I'd recommend to you if you really wanted to watch a long running show, especially if you like binge watching, because the content is perfect for that as it's practically all available now. There are even guides online if you really don't want to watch the filler that tells you what episodes you could skip. I'd like to thank you for listening to me while I talk about my favorite anime. If you like this content, please like the video to let me know. Subscribe to the channel, and finally, let me know what your top 10 anime is down in the comments below. Or let me know if you did watch any of these anime and you like them too. If you're a first time person to watching anime, take some of the recommendations, take the time to watch them, because there's a reason why an entire country